Welcome to Conservation Nation. I am your host, Gabriella Hoffman. In this series, we travel the country to highlight conservation in action. We're heading north to Alaska, the last frontier, for our next two videos. As a resource-dependent state, Alaska delicately balances economic development with environmental stewardship. This unique model, however, is greatly misconstrued by my fellow lower 48ers who wish to change it. I want to better understand what makes this majestic place so special. Come adventure along with me to learn more. The largest U.S. state by territory, Alaska was admitted to the Union in 1959. The 49th state boasts nearly 366 million total acres. 61% is federally managed, making it a famed tourist destination and sportsman's paradise. Before acquiring statehood, this place was originally settled by Native Americans and then controlled by Tsarist Russia in the mid-18th century. In March 1867, the U.S. agreed to pay $7.2 million, or $151 million in today's value, to Russia through the Alaska Purchase, a deal negotiated by then Secretary of State William H. Seward. Because the purchase was valued at less than 2 cents an acre, critics dubbed it Seward's Folly. That perception, however, changed in 1896 when the Klondike Gold Rush lured 100,000 gold miners to the region. Today, visitors to the last frontier can recreate this experience at places like Crow Creek Gold Mine located outside Anchorage. I want to learn more about the history and try my hand at gold panning.
We're gonna wash, everything's covered with water, everything's in motion.
Wow.
That's gonna help the heavy gold drop to the bottom, which is what we want. Lots of water, lots of motion while we're washing. That water's gonna get muddy, we're gonna change it out for some clean and keep washing.
I think I saw one speckle.
Very typical of what we see daily is this smaller, finer placer gold.
I don't think so yet. I say like little tiny specks, maybe that could be it.
Domestic mining is necessary for supplying our technological and electricity generation needs. Alaska is a repository of rare earth elements that can be sustainably sourced for these purposes. Yet the Biden administration has repeatedly blocked new mining projects in the last frontier in the name of fighting climate change and promoting conservation. Its next target is Ambler Road, an infrastructure project supported by Alaskans to reach the Ambler Mining District. The Alaska mining industry is responsible for 10,800 total direct and indirect jobs that pay an average annual wage of $118,000, more than any other sector of the state's economy. I asked Mike Sater, Manager of Government and Community Relations at Greens Creek Mine, Lorelei Simon, Vice President of External Affairs at Usabelli Coal Mine, and Shalyn Harrington, External Affairs Director for Ambler Metals LLC, how mining jobs delicately balance economic development with environmental stewardship.
So Alaska is a unique place for a number of reasons. And when Alaska finally made its case for statehood, it was really based on the fact that we were going to be allowed to responsibly develop all of our resources, whether that's oil and gas, fish, timber, our mineral resources, that was going to be the foundation of our state's economy, so that we would not be, a burden on the federal government. As we move forward to try to, diversify our economy in our state, to be able to, develop all of our resources, there was many in what we call the lower 48, the rest of the United States, that didn't necessarily want us to do that. And they wanted to lock up Alaska as, the last great place, to make it into effectively a national park. We have the promise to, responsibly develop a multitude of things, not the least of which is these critical minerals that the United States needs to survive in today's global economy.
One of the things that makes Usabelli Coal Mine so special is that we started reclaiming our old mine lands even before it was required by the federal government. And that's because the family is in Healy. They live in Healy, right? This is their front and their backyard. And no one wants clean air and water more than the people who live in the region. So that is incumbent upon us to be good stewards of the environment and to return Alaska the way that we found it, wild and beautiful. There is a very big disconnect in this country and even globally between what people think and want and hope versus reality, right? We all want to live in a modern society, and I always use my iPhone as an example of what modern society is. Well, we cannot have this without all of the important minerals, metals, and elements that go into making this phone.
We have proven that we can develop our resources responsibly. We're so highly regulated at every level and it's not just in the exploration phase, it's the construction phase, it's development and operation. So there's lots of checks and balances to make sure that we are being good stewards of the environment and developing the resources in an incredibly responsible way.
The Biden administration is greatly interfering with Alaska sovereignty by undermining and even blocking their ability to responsibly manage their natural resources, including mining. The Alaska State Constitution has 2 amendments pertaining to mineral rights, leaves, and permits. Article 8, Section 2 stipulates, quote, "The legislature shall provide for the utilization, development, and conservation of all natural resources belonging to the state, including lands and waters, for the maximum benefit of its people," end quote.
So we've seen interference with that balance for decades. For every positive action that we see in terms of identifying critical minerals and saying we need more domestic production, we almost see an opposite reaction in terms of the regulatory environment that the Biden administration is pushing.
We have so many opportunities here to help the world meet their needs for these elements to live in a modern society. And I'm going to include energy in that, right? Because energy poverty across the country, across the world, is a huge problem. And we do have the opportunity here to help people come up out of that energy poverty, have access to flushing toilets, the ability to heat and cool their homes, as well as refrigerate their food and medicine.
After learning about the Alaska model and mining's role here, I'm heading to the Kenai Peninsula south of Anchorage to partake in another Alaska pastime, sport fishing. Our target will be wild Alaska salmon. Since resource development expanded, wildlife hasn't reflexively suffered. Per the Alaska Department of Game and Fish, no wild Alaska salmon population is currently listed as threatened or endangered. Why? Conservation, including sport fishing, is so cherished here, it's enshrined in the Alaska State Constitution. I'm in for a treat this episode because we're fishing with Kenai River Sport Fishing Association Executive Director Shannon Martin, who knows this fishery and promises to help me land a wild Alaska fish. It's my first Alaska trout. Ah! Alaska is a crown jewel, not a folly, of America due to sustainable resource development like mining. Will the Biden administration learn to respect the Alaska standard and not obstruct it? That's our hope. Thanks for watching Conservation Nation. If you enjoyed it, please share it far and wide. Stay tuned for part 2 of our Alaska report coming soon.